Good morning once again, and welcome to the Haven Financial Group radio show. We appreciate you listening this morning. Feel free to give us a call anytime, today, next week, next month, whatever it takes, 612-504-8400. Visit us online at havenfinancialgroup.com. All kinds of retirement tools. We got a very interactive website. We have clients that share recipes and their favorite pets and all kinds of good stuff. So great website. And then all our classes, educational classes you hear me talk about. They're truly educational. There's materials provided at all of them, whether they're at our education center, their local libraries. We do lots of them. We certainly do a lot of them because it's how we learn. I always say to the crowds I speak to, when's the last time? Do you remember all the classes that taught you all the perfect retirement decisions? I never have anybody stand up. I just don't understand why, which is why we continue to do these classes, Kim, because we can all learn something, right?
Absolutely. havenfinancialgroup.com. That's where you find out more about those classes. We've been talking this morning about insurance. Glenn Ramey has been our guest, and it's been really an informative show. And we want to wrap things up today by talking about some of the things you really want to avoid, some of the mistakes that unfortunately folks make associated with insurance and retirement. And we want to point them out so that you can head them off and make sure you're not one of those people who falls victim to these mistakes. So Glenn, I'm going to ask you, what do you think when it comes to healthcare in retirement, what's the number one mistake people make?
Underestimating their cost. Not properly planning for what the full cost of healthcare will be. We're thinking only in terms of what our monthly premiums are and not the other expenses that we're going to incur in our health insurance policies, our out-of-pockets, our medication costs, our copays for services. Again, these are going to be part of your healthcare costs that aren't often in the budget, right? That are often there. And yeah, I regretfully say I have clients that today there's a $2,100 max on prescription drug plans in Medicare as an example. And yeah, they meet them. And they meet them every year. Yeah. So did they think when they were setting up their budget to include an extra $2,000 per year in prescription drug trusts that are now a guaranteed expense for the rest of their life in managing health conditions? Often no, they just don't incorporate all those costs.
Well, and I think it's hard to know what those costs might be. So you need a partner who can identify some of those potential costs. And you guys can do just that. I mean, you've got enough experience with this. You know what those potential pitfalls might be out there when it comes to health insurance. Delaying Medicare enrollment is a big mistake. And I think a lot of people just do it not because they mean to, it's just they don't know what those issues and those rules are.
Yeah, I joke that there's almost every day someone coming in my office to tell me that they're about to turn 65 and they're concerned about the penalties that they're going to face if they don't sign up for Medicare. And some of them, yeah, they would face penalties if they didn't sign up, right? The only way we can delay our Medicare without penalty is if we're employed or our spouses and we're getting health care from their work, active work, and that health care is credible for Medicare coming from an employer with 20 or more full-time employees. All other circumstances, we have to sign up for Medicare when we first turn 65, or we lose that group in coverage in order to be on time. And the key there is you have 63 days from the date an employer policy ends to get certain components of Medicare in place to not face those penalties.
Okay. And I know you say that to get into some of the other plans, it's a one-time situation. If you've stayed on an insurance plan from your employer and now you're 67, is that one-time opportunity still there?
Likely. It depends on one important factor. When did you start Part B of Medicare? That's B like boy, right? All of these guarantees are triggered when that component of Medicare begins for you. So someone could have Part A for 5 years and then join Medicare and sign up for the first time for Part B, and all those guarantees are triggered 5 years later when they're first signing up for that Part B benefit.
There you go. There's something that probably most people don't know. So all the more reason to chat with you, Glenn. Let's talk about long-term care. What's the biggest mistake people make associated with that?
Being afraid to have the conversation in the first place. Like being afraid to understand and learn their options, and a rightful justification, feeling afraid to be sold, because definitely those things happen out there, right? Individuals that aren't looking out for your best interest, but for their own. But if you're working with the right partners, you're gonna get a good education about options to figure out if one of those tools fits for you. And if they do, then they can help facilitate that. But as Larry emphasizes all the time, this is about education. Learn your options first so that you can make good decisions.
And Larry, I know that you've said this so many times. I'm turning now to life insurance. And it seems so simplistic, and yet people let this happen frequently. They do not check their beneficiaries, and suddenly it's, an ex-wife, or it's your cousin that you were going to leave it to when you were 22, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, it is elementary, but yet every single week we see potential problems. So making sure, well, number one, have a partner that's looking out for it, so you don't have beneficiaries that are outdated, ex-spouses, family members you don't even care for, unfortunately, anymore. And they're going to be the beneficiary because nobody's paying attention. I tell the joke of one of my clients, a nurse for 41 years at Fairview Southdale, just a wonderful couple. And I remember taking a look at her 403B in my office. Her and her husband were there, and I looked and I said, "You don't have any beneficiaries." And she goes, "Yeah, I just never figured out who I should put on there." As her husband of 45 years was sitting right next to her. And she goes, "Yeah, that's probably a good idea." And you say, does that really happen? Yeah, happens all the time. So make sure those beneficiaries on any accounts are current and they're updated. Another one I just throw out there too, because third segment was on annuities. Understand the terms, surrender charges and caps and participation rates and fees. Just understand them. Again, ask the questions. I said our job description is really answering questions. Mm-hmm. And again, I want people to get the answers, because the more answers they have, the more confidence they have for retirement. And that goes a long ways. It really, really does.
And Glenn, I want to throw one more out there at you. Failing to shop around for coverage. That leads us right into the fall here and what's coming up. Maybe you could explain that.
Yeah, so for those already on Medicare, right, we're going to be approaching very soon the annual enrollment period for Medicare that goes from October 15th to December 7th. And that is the window for people already on Medicare to shop their Medicare plans out. And we emphasize the importance of this, right? And one of the few areas people don't focus on in that shopping out is their prescription drug coverage, how their medications are covered. One of the few ways I have to confidently save people money in retirement in Medicare is by being diligent about how their medications are being covered by the different insurance policies, making sure they're not unnecessarily paying more for a medication simply because they didn't look at what the competition would do if they had their plan instead.
Mm-hmm. I think people get very comfortable, right? And it's just easier to just leave it the way it is.
Yeah. And understand, again, if you're not worried about saving, again, go ahead. Let it ride, right? Let it ride from year to year. But if you want to try to be diligent to make sure those hard-earned dollars that you save for your retirement aren't being unnecessarily wasted, then that review is super important.
You bet. How important is it, Larry, for people to have a partner when it comes to all of these insurance issues?
Well, if you ask our clients, it's really important, because they go, "We love it here." Because here's the deal. 11 years ago, last month, I was blessed to start the company, and the goal was to have multiple personalities in all these retirement areas. And fast forward 11 years, we have all the personalities. Thank goodness. It took quite a while to do it, but we have our estate planning attorneys, Keith, Lexi, and Carrie from Provision Law. Lance, our CPA, who's on with us, and tax. Actually, I just hired another CPA as well, because we do tax planning, tax preparation. Glenn with all the insurance, and Isabella, Medicare, long-term care, life insurance, and we've been talking about a lot today, Medicare supplements, Advantage, the whole investment team that we manage wealth with, Fidelity and Charles Schwab. All of this is under the Haven Financial Group umbrella, and it's right here. And I bet you I heard it at least 5 times, and I'm probably being conservative, because I'm quite conservative when I talk about numbers, is, wow, I heard it 5 times at least, that, wow, it's so nice to have it all under the same roof, that there's communication, there's coordination. We had our clients down from Owatonna this past week. Mom lost her husband. Mom's almost 90. There was a farm involved. There was a very high net worth, and there was estate tax. And guess what? The 2 boys, one of the spouses, Mom, who's almost 90, Carrie from Provision Law, myself, Lance, our CPA, we're all in the same conference room together, hashing it all out, tax planning, and all of it goes together. Now, to whatever degree you're listening, small, medium, or large, because I don't want you to think that every week we're only talking to the rich people. Sure, we're talking to them, but that's not the average Joe that's out there. So whether you're young or old or anything in between, I shouldn't use the word old. I apologize for that, Kim. But here's the reality is, if you have small, medium, or large net worth, young kids, older kids, this applies to you some way, shape, or form. We speak a lot to those that are, retirement planning. We're not limited in scope at havenfinancialgroup.com. In fact, every year, hey, can you help our kids? Can you help our kids? So we're getting younger ones in, and we enjoy that too. So at the end of the day, this applies to any listener that's out there, and we appreciate you listening. Do you have all the puzzle pieces? What pieces should you have, and what ones don't you have? And at the end of the day, what better to go into retirement with the confidence we're doing the best we can, and we have a good partner that's on our side, that's paying attention, and many people are not getting the attention they deserve.
Right. Larry meant young and wise.
There you go. Thank you for bailing me out.
612-504-8400 is how you get hold of the folks there at Haven Financial Group. I love what Larry was just talking about. I always refer to it as one-stop shopping, primarily because I do love to shop. And if I can do it all in one spot, then that is really, really great. Glenn, this has been great. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. Good to be with you, Kim. We'll see you next week.